Tonight, our story is called The Margin Scribe. On the long, cold nights of the abbey's quietest months, the margin scribe sits at a small wooden desk in a corner of the scriptorium and paints gold leaf into the borders of pages that will outlast everyone who ever sees them. The abbey is still. The wind moves around the stone walls without finding a way in. 3 white candles wait on the brass holder beside the desk, and an open vellum manuscript waits with half its margin unfinished. The scribe has done this work for many years. The order of things has not changed in a long time. A small wooden door sits in the corner of a long stone corridor, and behind that door is the scriptorium where the scribe works. The corridor outside is dark, lit only by a single far candle in a wall niche somewhere along its length. The door itself is heavy oak, low at the lintel, and worn smooth in one spot where a hand has rested against it for many years. Stone walls hold the cold of the night against their outer face, and the inner face stays patient and still. The scribe carries a single small candle along the corridor, the flame steady in their hand. The flame leans gently as they walk, then steadies again at the door. They lift the iron latch slowly, taking care to make no sound that the corridor will carry. The door swings inward on hinges so well oiled they make only a soft sigh. The scribe steps over the threshold into the scriptorium and closes the door behind them with the same patience. The room is small and made smaller by the cold of the stones, and made warmer again by the dim glow of a banked brazier in the far corner. The brazier holds only embers now, soft and orange and slow. It will not be tended tonight, but it gives just enough warmth to take the worst of the chill from the air. The scribe lets the door rest in its frame and stands a moment, letting their eyes adjust to the gentleness of this room compared to the dark corridor outside. There is a single wooden desk against the far wall. The desk has a slanted writing surface, polished by years of careful work. To one side of the desk sits a brass candle holder, tall and a little tarnished at the base, with 3 white candles set into it in a quiet row. The candles have been used before, but never quite to the bottom. They wait now in their holder, unlit, the wicks curled slightly from the last burning. The scribe walks to the desk, the soles of their soft leather shoes whispering against the stone floor. They set their small carrying candle on a flat stone shelf near the door, where it will not interfere with the work. Then they cross to the brass holder and bring the small candle along with them, just for a moment, just long enough to bring its flame to the first of the 3 wicks. The first wick takes the flame slowly, the way old wicks do. It catches at last with a small breath of light, and the candle stands tall and steady. The scribe moves the small flame to the second wick, and the second wick takes it more easily, having woken the room a little already. The third wick catches last, and the scribe holds the small flame there a heartbeat longer than necessary, just to make sure. Now 3 candles burn in their brass holder, side by side, the flames each finding their own tiny rhythm. The room grows by their light. The slanted writing surface emerges from the gentleness of shadow. The corner of the desk where the inkwells sit comes into focus, brass collars catching little glints of warm yellow. The far wall, with its single deep-set window, stays mostly in soft darkness, but the window itself holds a pane of black that the candlelight finds in faint reflection. The scribe carries the small candle back to the stone shelf by the door and snuffs it gently between thumb and finger, with the practiced movement of someone who does this every night. The wick gives a small thread of pale smoke that climbs and disappears. The room belongs now to the 3 candles in their holder and to the slow ember glow of the brazier, and to nothing else. Outside, somewhere far above the scriptorium roof, the wind is moving around the abbey walls. It is a distant wind, not a strong one, the kind that simply circles the great stone shape of the building and leaves a soft murmur as it passes. The wind does not enter the room. It only suggests itself through the thickness of the walls, an outside sound made small and gentle by the weight of stone between. The walls of the scriptorium are made of the same pale stone as the rest of the abbey, cut into rectangular blocks and joined with thin lines of mortar. mortar has aged to a soft cream color, almost the same shade as the stone, so that from a small distance the walls appear to be one solid piece of softness. The blocks vary slightly in size and shade. Some are whiter, some have a faint warm tone, some hold a very pale gray. None of this matters tonight. The wall is what it is, and the candlelight reaches only partway up it before fading into soft darkness. The floor under the scribe's feet is also stone, paved with larger flat slabs that fit closely together. The slabs are uneven by the smallest of margins, having been worn slightly differently by many years of use. The scribe knows where each slight unevenness is. The body has memorized the floor in the way that bodies do. The scribe lays a hand on the back of the wooden stool that sits before the desk. The stool is a simple thing, three-legged, with a worn leather cushion tied to the seat. They lower themselves onto it slowly, settling their weight by degrees, letting the wood take them. Their wool habit gathers around their knees and hangs almost to the floor. The cool of the stone seat under the leather has been softened by the cushion, and the cushion holds a faint warmth from the brazier. The desk surface is exactly the right slant for their hands. They rest both palms flat on the wood for a moment, feeling the smooth grain. The wood has been touched here so many times that its surface has the soft sheen of long use. There is a small ink stain in the corner, very old, almost the color of the wood itself now. The scribe lets their hands rest there. In front of them, in the very center of the slanted surface, lies the open manuscript. It rests on a small linen pad to keep it from slipping. The vellum is a pale cream color, slightly warmer in the candlelight, with a fine grain that catches the eye if one looks closely. The page is large, about the size of two open hands placed side by side, and the writing on it has been done in another hand, in another season, by another scribe entirely. The text is finished. The margins are not. This is the work the scribe is here for. The body of the text has been written. Now the margins must be filled with the small, careful patterns of vines, leaves, berries, and gold leaf flourishes that turn a written page into a finished one. The scribe is the one who does this work in this scriptorium on the night shift while the rest of the abbey sleeps. A brass holder near the right edge of the desk contains a small forest of quills and brushes. There are quills of different sizes, each cut to a different fineness for different work. There are brushes also, very small, the bristles soft and tipped to a fine point. Beside the brass holder sits a low wooden tray with small jars of pigment in stoppered glass. One holds a dark green, one holds a deep blue, one holds a vermilion, almost red, one holds a pale ochre, and there, set apart in its own small dish, is a thin sheet of gold leaf, almost weightless, almost not quite there at all. The scribe takes a slow breath in and out, and the room takes one with them. The candles burn evenly. The wind moves around the stone walls of the abbey far above, a sound that is barely a sound. The scribe rests their gaze on the open page and waits for the night to settle into the room properly. They are in no hurry. The work will be there when they begin. The work will still be there an hour from now, and an hour after that. The candle flames each have a small pale center where the wick burns hottest, and a softer outer flame that sways slightly in their own warmth. The middle flame is the tallest by a small fraction. The leftmost flame stands a little shorter. The rightmost flame matches the middle nearly. The three together cast a pool of warm light onto the desk that fades to soft shadow at the edges. Within this pool, the page rests. Outside this pool, the room slips slowly into deeper darkness, and the deeper darkness folds itself patiently around the small island of light. The smell of beeswax rises gently from the candles. It is a clean smell, faintly honey-like, with an undertone of something that might be summer fields long ago, made small and quiet. The smell settles in the room and joins the smell of the vellum and the inks. None of these smells are sharp. None of them ask anything. They are only the air of the work. The candlelight finds the gold leaf already laid down on yesterday's portion of the page, where last night's work has been set and burnished and left to wait. Tiny flares of warm yellow light dance on those small surfaces of gold. The flame moves a little, and the gold answers the flame, and the flame moves again, and the gold answers again. It is a small, private conversation between two warm things in the cool of the room. The scribe watches this for a while. Their hands are still flat on the desk surface. Their breathing is slow and even. The wool of their habit settles against their legs. The leather cushion settles under them. The stone bench under the cushion is cool, but not unpleasant. The brazier in the far corner sends a small wave of warmth across the room, very faintly, just enough to be felt by the side of one's face. They will begin the work soon. There is no rush. The night is long, and the candles are tall, and the wind is far away. The scribe lifts their hands from the desk surface at last. They reach to the small wooden tray and take down the dish of gold leaf with the careful slowness of someone handling a thing that hardly weighs anything at all. The dish is a shallow ceramic bowl, glazed pale on the inside, and the gold leaf rests inside it like a small cloud of yellow light. They set the dish on the upper part of the slanted desk, where the gold will wait for its turn. They reach next for the small clay jar of egg white wash, the size of a child's fist, sealed under a square of waxed cloth tied with a thin string. The string comes loose easily under their fingers, and the cloth lifts away. Inside, the wash is clear and slightly sticky, the color of a window after rain. They place the jar on the desk next to the gold leaf dish, where they will be able to reach it without looking. Then come the brushes. They lift the smallest brush from the brass holder, the one with the very fine point, and lay it across the upper edge of the desk where it will be ready. They lift the second smallest beside it. They lift the burnisher from a separate slot, a smooth tool of dark polished wood with a small rounded head of agate at one end. The agate has been used so many times that its surface is mirror smooth and gleams in the candlelight. The scribe places one hand flat on the vellum page and feels the slight warmth that the candles have given it. Vellum is an old, gentle material. It is calf skin, scraped and stretched and dried and smoothed for many days until it is as fine as paper and as strong as cloth. It has a faint cream smell, dry and mineral, with a hint of something that might once have been alive, but is now only quiet. The scribe smooths the page with the side of their hand, very gently, in the way one might smooth a sleeping animal's coat. The vellum makes a faint whisper under the wool of their cuff. The fine grain of the surface is almost invisible at this distance, but the candlelight finds it and lifts it just slightly, giving the page a depth that flat paper would not have. The scribe leans forward a little, settling closer to the work. Their face is now a hand's width from the page. The slanted desk surface makes this comfortable. The candles burn just to their left, 3 flames in a row, and the light falls evenly across the page. The shadow of the scribe's nose falls only slightly to the right of where they look. The shadow of their hand will fall only slightly to the left of where it works. They take up the smallest brush. They dip it very lightly into the small clay jar of egg white wash. They draw the brush along the edge of the jar to remove any extra. The brush is now slightly damp, only the faintest moisture. They bring the brush to the page and begin to lay a thin line of wash along a small section of the margin where the next gold leaf will go. The wash leaves no visible mark. It is invisible until the gold meets it. The brush moves slowly, the way a held breath moves. The scribe lays the wash along a short curve, perhaps the width of 2 fingertips, then sets the brush down across the top of the desk. They reach for the dish of gold leaf. The gold leaf is too thin to lift with fingers. Even the smallest breath can carry it away. The scribe uses a flat brush of soft squirrel hair, charged very slightly with the warmth of their own breath, and the gold leaf lifts to the brush as if it has chosen to come. They turn the brush carefully and bring the gold to the page. The gold leaf settles onto the wash with a small surrender. The candlelight finds it almost the moment it lands. 3 small flares of warm light, 1 for each candle, lift from the new gold. The scribe smooths the leaf down with the soft brush, then takes up the burnisher. The agate head touches the gold. They press gently, then move move the burnisher in a small circle, then a small line. The gold takes on a deeper shine, almost like a held coin in firelight. When the small section of gold is complete, the scribe sets the burnisher down. They sit back on the stool, just by a hand's width, and look at the page from a slightly farther distance. The gold catches the candlelight even from there. They lean forward again. They are ready for the next stroke. The wind moves once, gently, around the high stone walls of the abbey, and the sound comes through the deep window as a soft, passing breath. The candles do not stir because the room is sealed and warm. Only the outside wind hears itself. The scribe rests their hands flat on the desk for a moment. The wood is warm where the hands have lain before. The grain runs in long, slow lines, the way wood grain does when the wood was once a tall tree growing somewhere in a quiet valley. The scribe has never seen the tree, but the wood holds the memory of the tree, and the desk holds the memory of the wood. The hands rest on this small, slow history. Then the scribe leans forward again. They look at the gold leaf already laid down. The candlelight finds it. 3 small flares lift from the surface. Each flare moves with its own candle. When the leftmost flame leans, the leftmost flare leans with it. When the rightmost flame steadies, the rightmost flare steadies. The middle flame is the tallest, and the middle flare is the brightest. The page holds a small, private weather of light. Now the green. The scribe takes the small jar of green pigment and sets it next to the wash. The pigment is mixed thick, the color of moss after rain, and a wooden stick lies inside the jar for stirring. The scribe stirs it slowly, 3 small circles, lifts a little of the pigment onto the second smallest brush, and tests the brush against the inside rim of the jar. Just enough. They bring the brush to the page. The first line of vine begins at the corner of the gold leaf section, just laid down. The brush moves in a slow curl, drawing the central stem of a small climbing vine. The line is fine and steady, with a slight curve that suggests living growth. The scribe's wrist is loose. Their elbow rests lightly on the desk. Their shoulder is soft, The line comes from the whole of the arm, not just the fingers. When the central stem reaches a certain length, the scribe pauses and lifts the brush. They consider the curve. They add a small offshoot, a short side stem that will hold a leaf. The brush returns to the jar, takes a little more pigment, returns to the page, and draws another small offshoot lower down. The vine takes shape slowly. There is no plan written for it. There is only the long memory in the hand. The scribe begins the leaves. Each leaf is a small almond shape, drawn with 2 slow strokes that meet at top and bottom. The first leaf, near the top of the vine, takes only a moment. The second leaf, on the other side of the stem, takes only a moment more. The third leaf is smaller, set lower, where the vine begins to bend. The leaves are not all alike. They are like leaves in a real garden, each one a little different. A small flicker of the leftmost candle, very brief, sends a wave of light across the page. The scribe pauses with the brush held just above the vellum. The light steadies. The brush lowers. Another leaf grows into the margin. The scribe's posture is the posture of a long-practiced hand. Both feet rest flat on the cool stone of the floor, with the wool habit gathered around them. The knees are slightly apart. The back is upright but soft, the shoulders low and easy. The right elbow rests on the desk, just barely, with no weight pressing down. The left hand steadies the page from the lower corner. The right hand holds the brush. None of this has been thought about in many years. The body finds its own way to the work. The brush is held loosely between the thumb and the first 2 fingers, the way one might hold a small bird. There is no grip. There is only the lightest of contacts. The brush does what the wrist asks. The wrist does what the arm asks. The arm does what the breath asks. And the breath does very little, only its own slow, steady measure. After some time, the green vine has spread along a finger's length of the margin, climbing slowly up the right side of the page. It has 6 leaves now, each one slightly different. The scribe sets the brush down across the rim of the green pigment jar. They flex their fingers gently against the desk surface. The fingers have stayed loose, This is not work that tightens the hand. The candles burn evenly. The brazier in the corner has settled by another fraction. The wind around the abbey walls has not changed. The room is warm enough. The room is cool enough. The vellum is steady under the hand. The scribe takes up another brush, the very smallest one, and reaches for the small jar of vermilion. The vermilion is the color of a held coal, deep and rich, slightly warmer than red. They stir it gently. The pigment is fine and even. They take only a tiny amount on the very tip of the brush. They bring it to the page, to a place near the third leaf, and place a single small dot. The dot is a berry. They place a second dot next to it. The second dot is a second berry. A small cluster grows beside the leaf. These berries take only a moment each. There are 7 of them in this small cluster. The scribe pauses after the 7th and looks at the cluster. The vermilion is the brightest thing on the page. The candlelight finds it and lifts it, and the cluster of small berries seems almost to hover just above the surface of the vellum. Though it is only the work of a brush against a flat page. They place the small brush back into the brass holder. They sit back again by another hand's width and look at the work so far. A short section of margin, perhaps as long as a thumb, has been filled with gold leaf, green vine, 6 leaves, and a cluster of vermilion berries. The rest of the margin, longer than 3 of those sections together, still waits. There is no hurry. The candles are tall. The night is long. The wind moves once around the stone walls of the abbey, far above, a sound so soft it is almost not a sound at all. The scribe takes up the wash brush again. They begin a new short section of egg white wash, a little further down the margin from the first gold leaf section. Their movements have the same careful slowness as before. The brush moves in a small curve, leaves its invisible track, and is set aside. They charge the soft squirrel hair brush with breath, lift another small piece of gold leaf, and bring it to the wash. The gold settles. The candlelight finds it. 3 small flares lift from the new piece, just as before. The scribe smooths the leaf, takes the burnisher and works the gold into a deeper shine. The small circle and the small line. The gold takes on the look of a coin held close to a fire. The scribe sets the burnisher down and looks at the page again. A second gold leaf section now sits below the first, joined by the green vine that climbs between them. The vine has begun to thread its way past the second gold patch, and the scribe will continue the vine soon. But first, they reach for the small clay jar of the deep blue pigment. The blue is the color of a deep evening sky, almost the color of the window in this room when one looks at it long enough. They stir it slowly with its little wooden stick. The pigment is a precious one. It is used carefully and not wasted. They take only a little on the second smallest brush and bring it to a place near the new gold leaf section. They draw a small flower, 4 blue petals around a tiny center of pale ochre. The flower is no bigger than a pea, but it is complete in every part. The scribe places another flower a little further along the vine, and another, smaller still. 3 flowers join the green and the gold and the vermilion. The page is becoming a small garden, growing slowly down one side of the margin in the warm light of 3 white candles in a stone room in the deep heart of an abbey at night. The wind moves once more around the walls outside. It is the same sound it has always been. The scribe does not look up. Their hand continues. The brush returns to the jar, takes a little more blue, returns to the page. Another petal, another stem. The work continues. The scribe takes up the wash brush again and begins another short curve of egg white wash along the margin, just below the second gold leaf patch. The bristles release the wash in a soft, thin trail, and the trail dries to invisibility almost as soon as it is laid. The wash brush is set aside. The squirrel hair brush takes a small piece of gold leaf from the dish. The gold lifts as if drawn by an invisible thread. The brush carries it to the page. The gold settles into the wash with a tiny adjustment of its own weight, finding the curve. The candles answer with their 3 small flares. The scribe smooths the gold with the soft brush. The burnisher comes down. The agate moves in its small, slow circle. The gold deepens into its coin-warm shine. A third gold leaf section now sits along the margin, lower than the second, and the green vine begins again to climb between them. The scribe takes up the green brush. The vine bends a little wider here, finding its own shape. The first leaf opens upward. The second leaf opens to the side. The third leaf is small and turns back toward the vine, in the way leaves sometimes do when they have not yet finished growing. Each leaf is laid with 2 slow strokes that meet at the tip. The brush returns to the jar between leaves. The breath returns to its slow, steady measure between strokes. After some time, the scribe sets the brush down once again and reaches for a small clay cup at the back of the desk. The cup has been there since the scribe arrived. It holds water drawn from the abbey well earlier in the evening, which has been standing long enough now to be cool, but not cold. The scribe lifts the cup with both hands and sips slowly. The water tastes of stone and a little of clay. They set the cup back in its place and rest their hands on the desk. The page now has a margin filled along almost 2 thumb lengths. The vine climbs steadily. The leaves are scattered along the vine with small variations. The berries cluster in 2s and 3s. The flowers sit at intervals. The gold leaf catches the candlelight in 3 places. The work has a pattern, but the pattern is not a strict one. It moves like a real plant, growing where it can, leaning where it must. The candle flames burn evenly. The wax around each rim has gathered a little, a soft thickening that catches the light as a pale ridge around each flame. The wicks bend slightly forward, as old wicks tend to do once they have settled into the work of burning. The middle wick stands straightest. The leftmost leans a hair to the left. The rightmost leans a hair to the right. None of this changes the steadiness of the light on the page. The light falls evenly. The work proceeds. A small piece of vellum dust, no larger than a grain of sand, has settled on the page near the bottom corner. The scribe notices it. They lift the vellum dust away with the very edge of a soft brush kept for this purpose. The dust lifts. The page is clean again. The scribe sets the brush back in its place brazier in the corner has dimmed by another fraction. The embers are still alive, but they have settled deeper into the bed of ash. The warmth they send across the room has grown smaller. The scribe does not feed the brazier. The brazier is a quiet companion, not a working fire, and tonight it will be allowed to settle on its own. The cool of the stone room is a clean cool, not a sharp one, and the wool habit holds enough warmth for the work. The scribe takes up the smallest brush again. They mix a small amount of the pale ochre with a touch of vermilion on a small flat dish kept for this purpose. The mix becomes a warm gold orange, almost the color of a wheat field at the very last moment of dusk. They use this color to add small highlights to the leaves, a faint line along one edge of each leaf, suggesting where the light would catch it if the leaf were real. This work is even slower than the rest. Each highlight takes only a single stroke, but the stroke is so delicate that the brush barely touches the page. The scribe holds their breath through the stroke and lets it out again at the end. 6 leaves, 6 small highlights. The leaves now have a depth that they did not have before. The light seems to lean across them. The scribe pauses to clean the small brush on the soft linen cloth. The brush comes away faintly orange, leaving a small streak on the cloth. The cloth has many such small streaks gathered along its surface, each from a different night, each from a different page, each fading slightly as it dries. The cloth is a small map of the work itself, in colors that no one will ever read. The scribe folds the cloth and sets it back beside the dish. The scribe sits back and looks at the page. They do not smile because the work is its own purpose, not a thing to be pleased about. But the work is good. They know this in the way one knows the bread has risen, or the candle has caught, or the door has closed properly. The work is good, and the work continues. They reach again for the wash brush. They begin a third section of egg white wash, further along the margin, where the next gold leaf will go. The pattern is the same as before. The wash, the gold, the burnish, then the green for the vine, the small berries in vermilion, the small flowers in blue, the small highlights in warmed ochre. The pattern is a quiet one, and the scribe knows it like the way of their own breath. The candlelight on the gold leaf catches the eye each time a new piece is laid. The brush moves softly against the vellum. The wind moves around the stone walls of the abbey far above. These things repeat. They do not change. They settle into the room as a kind of slow rhythm, and the scribe rides the rhythm without thinking about it. The night is long, and the work is patient. The scribe pauses to refresh the small clay jar of egg white wash from a larger jar kept on a stone shelf to the right of the desk. They pour just a little of the fresh wash into the small jar and stopper the larger one again. The fresh wash is slightly warmer than the wash already in the small jar. They mix the two by gently swirling the small jar in a small circle. The wash settles. The brush enters again. The scribe also refreshes the small mixing dish. They wipe the old residue away with a soft linen cloth, then set the dish back in its place on the upper edge of the desk. The dish is small and shallow, glazed pale on the inside, almost the color of a winter sky just before dawn. It will hold the next mixed color when the moment comes for it. There is a particular quality to the air in a scriptorium at this hour. The day's bustle has long faded from the abbey corridors. The kitchens are dark. The chapter house is empty. Even the most distant of the abbey rooms has settled into its night quiet. Only the scriptorium holds a single small island of warm, steady light, and only the scribe holds the patient rhythm of the night work. The air carries the smell of beeswax from the candles, the dry mineral smell of vellum, the faintly sharp smell of inks and pigments, and underneath all of these, the cold stone smell of the abbey itself, which is the smell of many lifetimes of stillness. The scribe breathes this air without thinking about it. It is the air of their work. It has been the air of their work for many years. Their lungs know its mixture in the way one's hand knows the weight of a familiar tool. Time in the scriptorium moves the way honey moves out of a tilted spoon. It is not stopped. It is only slow. A small length of vellum margin further on now. the scribe begins what they think of in the long quiet of their hand as the pattern of the 8 leaves. This is not a fixed pattern. It is simply that in this section, 8 leaves seem to want to grow. The vine bends a little wider here, making space for them. The first leaf is small and turned slightly sideways. The second leaf is larger, opening upward. The third leaf is smaller again, hanging from a side stem. The fourth is the largest of all, set against a curve in the vine. Scribe works through these leaves slowly. Between each leaf, they look at the page from a slightly different angle, leaning their head a little to one side. This lets them see the curve of the vine more clearly. The candles burn evenly behind their right shoulder, and the light falls onto the page from above and to the left, the way a lamp would fall through an upper window. There is no upper window in this room. There are only the 3 candles, but the candles, by their angle, have made a kind of upper window of themselves. The 5th leaf begins on the other side of the stem. The brush moves slowly along the curve of the leaf's edge. The scribe draws the upper line first, then the lower line, joining at the tip. They fill the leaf with a slightly thinner green, made by adding a touch of clear water on the small mixing dish. The thinner green gives the leaf a softer color, suggesting that this leaf is younger than the others. The 6th leaf is filled with the standard green. The 7th with the thinner green again. The 8th with the standard. When the 8 leaves are done, the scribe sets the brush down across the rim of the green jar. Their right shoulder feels a little tight. They roll it gently, just once, in a small, slow circle. The wool of the habit shifts against their back. The leather cushion creaks faintly under them. They do not get up. They only roll the shoulder once, then settle again. The candles have burned a little lower, not by much, perhaps by a finger's width on each. They will burn for many more hours yet. The wax has begun to gather at the rim of each candle, white and slow, a small rounded shape that grows by the thickness of a hair every little while. The scribe will not need to trim them tonight. They will burn evenly until the end of the work. The wind moves around the abbey walls far above, the same sound it has been making. A soft circling, a soft passing. The walls are thick, and the sound of the wind is small, but the sound is there, like the breath of a sleeping creature in another room. The scribe has heard this sound for many nights, in this exact same place, at this exact same hour. It is the sound of the night around the abbey, and it does not change. The scribe takes up the smallest brush again and dips it into the vermilion jar. 6 small berries form near the second gold leaf section. Then 4 more near the third. Then a single solitary berry, the size of a pinhead, near the 8th leaf. The scribe sets the brush down and sits back. They take a slow breath. They look at the page. The vine has now climbed along the right margin for nearly half its length. The work is more than a third complete. There is no pressure to finish. There is only the slow continuation of what has been started. The night is long and the candles are tall, and the wind is far away. The scribe takes up the wash brush, the next short curve of wash. The brush moves slowly, leaving its invisible track. Then the squirrel hair brush, the next piece of gold leaf. The candles answer with their 3 small flares. The burnisher comes down. The agate moves in its small, slow circle. The gold deepens. A 4th gold leaf section now joins the 3rd. The vine has climbed past the halfway point of the right margin. The scribe takes up the green brush again. A new leaf. Another. The brush returns to the jar. The brush returns to the page. A 3rd leaf. The leaves are scattered along the vine in their own small, varied rhythm. The scribe pauses. They flex their fingers gently against the desk. The fingers are still loose. The work has not tightened them. The wrist is loose. The elbow is light on the desk. The shoulder soft. The brush continues. A small berry. Another small berry. 3 small berries in a cluster beside the 4th leaf. The vermilion is bright in the candlelight. The candlelight finds it. The cluster seems to lift slightly from the page. A blue flower opens beside the 5th leaf. 4 small petals around a tiny center of pale ochre. The flower is no bigger than a pea, but it is whole. The scribe places another flower, a little further along the vine. The vine carries its small garden upward. The scribe sets the brush down. They place both hands on the desk. They sit a while, doing nothing in particular. The candles burn. The wind moves around the walls outside. The brazier holds its small embers. The room is steady. After a while, they take up the brush again. A new leaf, a new berry, a new flower, a new shadow line, a new highlight. The pattern moves at its own slow pace. A small thing happens, very small. The flame of the middle candle, the tallest of the three, gives a quiet flutter. The flutter lasts only half a breath, and the flame steadies again. Perhaps a draft from somewhere has slipped into the room. Perhaps a wisp of dust passed through the flame. Whatever the cause, the flicker has come and gone, and the room is steady again. The scribe noticed the flicker only with the corner of their eye. They did not stop their hand. They are mixing now. On the small mixing dish, they take a touch of the deep blue and a touch of the green and stir them together. The two pigments meet and become a darker color, somewhere between teal and forest. This will be used for shadow lines, the small thin lines that suggest where one leaf turns behind another. The scribe takes only the very tip of the smallest brush and applies these shadow lines with the lightest possible touch. The shadow lines are almost invisible. They are not meant to be seen. They are only meant to be felt. After 3 or 4 of them, the leaves in that part of the page seem to gain a depth they did not have before. The leaves fold over each other. The vine wraps around itself. The page has begun to lift very slightly in the eye into the 3rd dimension. It is a small effect. It is a slow effect. The scribe knows it well. When this set of shadow lines is done, the scribe sets the brush back into the brass holder. They take up the wash brush again. They begin another short section of egg white wash, another finger's width along the margin where the next piece of gold leaf will go. The pattern continues. The pattern has continued for many hours. The pattern will continue for many more. The scribe lays the next gold leaf. The candles answer with their 3 small flares. The burnisher works its small circles and lines. The gold takes on its deep, coin-like shine. The scribe sets the burnisher down. The vine extends. 3 new leaves grow. 2 flowers in blue. 3 berries in vermilion. The shadow lines, soft as breath. A few highlights in the warmed ochre. Another section is complete. The scribe straightens for a moment and tilts their head back, just enough to ease the muscle at the base of the neck. They look at the ceiling of the scriptorium. The ceiling is low and made of stone, with thick wooden beams running across it. The candlelight reaches only partway up the wall before fading, and the ceiling itself stays in soft shadow. The beams are old, the wood almost black from the smoke of many candles over many lifetimes. The shadow holds them and lets them rest. The scribe lowers their head again. They reach for the clay cup of water and take a small sip. The water has stayed cool. They set the cup back. They take up the wash brush. They begin the next short section. In the corner, the brazier sends a small wave of warmth across the room. The wave passes the scribe's right side, faintly, like the touch of a sleeping cat brushing against a hem. Then it is gone. The brazier settles by another fraction. The room remains steady. The candle wax has begun to weep very slowly down the side of the leftmost candle. A thin, pale trail moves down the side of the wax, then stops, then moves a little further, then stops again. The wax cools as it moves and gathers itself in a small, soft ridge on the side of the candle. The ridge will grow throughout the night. By morning, it will be a small, pale river, frozen midway, gentle and slow. The scribe does not look at it. They have seen many such rivers. They will see many more. The scribe takes up the small wash brush again, the next short curve of wash. The brush moves across the vellum slowly. The wash leaves its invisible track. The brush is set aside. The squirrel hair brush takes a small piece of gold leaf. The candles answer. The burnisher comes down. The agate moves in its small, slow circle. The gold deepens. Outside, the wind moves around the abbey walls. Far above, in the dark, a single distant bell sounds once, softly, marking some hour or other. The bell is so far away that the sound is almost a memory by the time it reaches the scriptorium. The scribe does not count the hour. They have not counted the hours for many years. The work begins when they sit down and continues until the work is set aside. The brush moves. The pigments are mixed and remixed. The pattern grows. The scribe takes up the wash brush, the next short curve of wash. The brush moves slowly along the vellum. The wash leaves its invisible track. The brush is set aside. The squirrel hair brush takes a small piece of gold leaf. The candles answer with their 3 small flares. The burnisher comes down. The agate moves in its small, slow circle. The gold deepens. The scribe sets the burnisher down. They rest their hands on the desk. The candlelight catches the new gold and answers it. The page now holds another small section of finished margin. The brush returns to the green. A new leaf grows, a second leaf, a third. The brush returns to the jar between leaves. The brush returns to the page. The vine extends. The brush returns to the vermilion. A small berry. A small berry. The cluster grows beside the leaf. The candlelight finds the vermilion and lifts it. The brush returns to the blue. A small flower opens beside the cluster. 4 small petals. A tiny center of pale ochre. The flower is no bigger than a pea, but it is whole. The brush mixes the dark teal on the small dish. The shadow line, soft as breath, slips between 2 leaves. The leaves seem to fold gently over each other. The page gains another small fraction of depth. The brush mixes the warmed ochre on the small dish. The highlight, the smallest of strokes, runs along the edge of 1 leaf. The leaf gains a small private light. The scribe pauses. They place the brush across the rim of the jar. They place both hands on the desk. They sit a while. The breath comes in. The breath goes out. The candles burn. The wind moves. The brazier glows. The scribe lays a 5th piece of gold leaf along the margin. The 5th section now joins the 4th, with the vine climbing between them. The candles answer the new gold with their small flares. The scribe sits back and rests both hands flat on the desk, palms down, fingers spread slightly. They feel the smooth wood under their hands. They feel the slight warmth that has gathered there from their work. The scribe glances at the small jars of pigment lined along the upper edge of the desk. Each one rests in its place, stoppered or half-stoppered, the wooden stirring stick lying along the rim or set just beside it. The vermilion jar is a little less full than it was at the start of the night. The blue is slightly less full also. The green has been used the most, and its level has dropped by perhaps the width of a fingernail. The pale ochre is hardly touched. The egg-white wash sits ready in its small clay jar, with the larger jar standing on the shelf above. The brass holder of brushes holds them upright in their small forest, each at its own angle. The wash brush, the smallest brush, the second smallest, the squirrel hair brush, the brush kept for clearing dust. Each one waits patiently for its next use. The brushes have been used in this same scriptorium, in this same brass holder, for many years. They know the work as well as the hand does. They sit this way for some time. They do not look at the page. They look only at the candles, at the 3 flames standing tall and steady in the brass holder. The middle flame is the tallest. The right flame is the steadiest. The left flame leans very slightly every now and then when the room moves in some small way that the scribe cannot feel. The flames are old companions. They have been here on every night that the scribe has been here, and they will be here on every night to come. The scribe thinks no thoughts about this. They only watch the flames. The flames burn. The flames are themselves and nothing else. After a while, the scribe takes up the brush again. Time settles deeper. The brush moves slower now. The scribe has been working for several hours. The body knows this. The body does not announce it. But the slowness has gathered into the hand, into the wrist, into the breath. Each stroke takes a small moment longer than it would have taken at the beginning of the night. This is not a tiredness. It is a deepening. The scribe has gone further into the work, and the work has settled around them. A small leaf grows, a small berry, a small flower, the shadow line between two leaves. The pattern moves at its own pace. The scribe's eyes narrow slightly to focus on the smallest details, then relax again. The candlelight is steady. The gold leaf catches light. The wind moves around the walls. The scribe reaches for the wash brush. Another short section of wash. Another piece of gold. The candles flare. The burnisher works its circles. The gold deepens. The brush returns to the green jar. The vine continues. New leaves. The brush returns to the vermilion jar. New berries. The brush returns to the blue jar. New flowers. The brush mixes again. New shadow lines. New highlights. The pattern is the same, and the pattern is always slightly different. After some time, the scribe stops. They place the brush down. They sit back from the desk. They place both hands on their thighs, palms down, and rest. Their wool habit is warm against their hands. The leather cushion under them is warm. The stone bench beneath the cushion is cool. The brazier glows softly in the corner. The candles burn. They do not look at the page. They look only at the small space of air just in front of their face, the space between their eyes and the candles. This space is filled with soft, warm light, faintly amber, very gentle. The light moves with the small movements of the flames. It is not a still light, but it is a steady one. The scribe rests this way for what might be the length of 3 quiet breaths, or the length of 30. They have stopped counting. The breath comes in. The breath goes out. The breath comes in. The breath goes out. The light is amber. The candles burn. The wind moves. The scribe rests this way for some time. The fingers do not move. The eyes do not focus on anything in particular. The breath comes in and goes out at its own slow, steady rate. The room is held inside the breath, and the breath is held inside the room. There is no separation between them. After this rest, the scribe stands up. They stand slowly, the way one stands after sitting for a long time, taking the weight onto the legs in stages. The leather cushion creaks. The wool habit falls to its full length. The scribe puts a hand on the desk to steady themselves. They wait a moment for the legs to remember themselves. Then they step away from the desk. There is a small, narrow space between the desk and the deep window in the far wall. The scribe walks to the window. The window is set deep into the stone, perhaps the depth of a forearm, with a stone ledge inside. The pane of glass is small, with an iron framework of crossbars holding several little panes together. The glass is old and slightly wavy, the way old glass becomes. The scribe places one hand on the stone ledge. The stone is cold. They look out into the night. The night is dark. Beyond the glass, the abbey courtyard is mostly hidden, but there is a faint suggestion of a wall, a stone arch, perhaps the outline of a tree. The night sky above is very dark, with a few stars visible through the wavy glass, made small and soft by the imperfections of the pane. The wind moves around the abbey walls outside. From here, by the window, the wind is a little louder, though still distant. It is the sound of air sliding along stone, finding the corners of buttresses, brushing past arches. The wind does not enter the window. The window is sealed and tight. Only the sound enters. The scribe stands at the window for a long while. They do not move. Their hand stays on the cold stone ledge. Their breath fogs the glass very faintly, then clears, then fogs, then clears. The wavy glass holds the night in small, uneven sections. The largest section, in the upper left, holds a small, slow curve of darkness, with one very faint star caught somewhere in it. The lower left section holds the suggestion of a lower wall, perhaps the edge of the abbey courtyard. The right sections hold deeper darkness still, with no shape that can be named. The iron crossbars that hold the panes together cast small, thin shadows that the candlelight cannot quite reach. The cold of the stone ledge gradually moves into the scribe's hand. It is not unpleasant. It is the cold of a thing that has held its place for many years, neither warming itself nor letting itself be warmed. The scribe does not move the hand. They let the ledge teach the hand what cold means tonight. After this time, the scribe turns from the window. They walk back to the desk. They sit down on the wooden stool. The leather cushion holds their warmth from before. They settle. They do not pick up the brush right away. They look at the page. The page now has a long stretch of finished margin along the right side. The vine climbs from the bottom corner up toward the top. There are 6 gold leaf sections joined by the vine, with leaves and berries and flowers and shadows and highlights between them. The pattern is rich now. The pattern has weight. The scribe takes a slow breath. They reach for the brush. The brush moves. The wash, the gold, the burnish. The gold catches the light. The vine grows. 1 leaf, 1 berry, a blue flower, a shadow line. The candles burn. The wind moves. The brazier glows. The scribe pauses between strokes. They rest. They breathe. They begin again. A new section of margin fills slowly. The vine reaches further along the page. The 6th gold leaf section joins the 5th. The candles answer. The scribe sets the burnisher down. The room holds steady. The scribe takes up the green brush. A new leaf opens upward. Another leaf opens to the side. A 3rd leaf is small and curled. The brush returns to the jar. The brush returns to the page. A small berry, the cluster grows. A blue flower beside the leaf. 4 small petals. The shadow line, soft as breath. The highlight, the smallest stroke. The scribe sets the brush down. They rest. They breathe. The candles burn. The wax has gathered thickly at each rim. The flames are slightly smaller than they were an hour ago. But each flame is still tall, still steady, still warm. The work continues, but it is slower now. Each stroke takes longer. The brush moves. the wash, the gold, the burnish. The gold catches the light. The vine grows. One leaf, one berry, the blue flower, the shadow line. The candles burn. The wind moves. The brazier glows. The scribe pauses between strokes. They rest. They breathe. They begin again. A new section of margin fills slowly. The vine reaches further along the page. The 7th gold leaf section joins the 6th. The scribe sets the burnisher down. They sit back. They flex their fingers gently. The candles have burned lower, each flame still tall, each flame still steady. The wax has gathered more thickly at each rim. The scribe does not trim them. They reach for the green again. A leaf grows, then another, then a third. The brush returns to the jar. The brush is set down. The hand rests. The scribe takes a sip of water from the clay cup. The water is cool. They set the cup down. They take up the brush. They continue. A blue flower opens beside the 3rd leaf. Its 4 petals are small. A berry, then another berry, then another. 3 berries in vermilion. The shadow line, the lightest of touches. The leaves gain depth. The highlight, the smallest of strokes. The leaves catch a private light. The scribe sets the brush down. They place both hands on the desk. They sit a while. They breathe. The candles burn. The wind moves. The 8th gold leaf section is laid. The candles answer. The burnish. The 8th section joins the 7th. The vine has nearly reached the top. The scribe leans a little closer to the page. The smallest details now. The smallest leaf of all. The thinnest line of vine. The tiniest berry. The scribe's breath has slowed. The hand has slowed. The brush has slowed. Each stroke is small. Each stroke is precise. Each stroke takes its time. The candlelight flickers very gently on the gold. The gold answers gently. The wind passes around the abbey walls. The walls are thick and quiet. The scribe reaches for the wash. The brush moves along a small curve. They lay the 9th piece of gold leaf. The candles flare softly. The burnisher moves in its small circles. The gold deepens to coin shine. They set the burnisher down. They look at the page from a small distance. The vine has reached the top corner of the right margin. The pattern climbs. The scribe sits back. They place their hands on their thighs. They rest. The candles burn. The wax gathers. The wicks are still long enough. The brazier in the corner sends another small wave of warmth across. The wave passes. The scribe feels it on the back of the right hand. They take a slow breath. They take another. They take another. After a while, they take up the brush again. The work continues. The vine begins its turn. The right margin meets the top margin now. The vine bends around the corner of the page, slowly, like a real vine. A new section of margin opens, the top of the page. The vine climbs across. The scribe lays a new piece of gold leaf at the corner where the margins meet. The candles answer. The burnisher works. The gold takes its shine. The vine extends across the top slowly, with leaves and berries and flowers. The scribe leans forward. The brush moves. The brush is set down. The candles burn lower. The flames are smaller now, still steady, still tall. The wind moves around the walls. The sound is the same, always the same. The scribe pauses. They look at the page. They sit back. They rest. A blue flower opens at the top of the page. Its petals are small and slow. The scribe lays a green leaf beside the flower, then another, then a third. The brush moves slower. The hand moves slower. The breath moves slower. The scribe takes a sip of the water. The clay cup is almost empty now. They set the cup down. They take up the brush. They continue. A small berry. Another small berry. The cluster grows beside the leaf. The shadow line, the lightest touch. The highlight, the smallest stroke. The scribe sets the brush down. They place their hands on the desk. They sit a while. They watch the candles. The candles burn. The night holds. After a while, the scribe stands up again. Slowly, the legs settle. They walk to the window. They place a hand on the cold stone ledge. The window is dark. The night is deep. The stars are small in the wavy glass. The wind moves around the walls outside. A soft passing, a soft circling. The scribe stands at the window for a long while. They do not move. The breath fogs the glass faintly. The breath clears. The breath fogs again. The night beyond the window is quiet. The abbey holds. The stones hold. After this time, the scribe turns from the window. They walk back to the desk. They sit down on the wooden stool. The leather cushion holds the warmth. They settle. They look at the page. The page is nearly complete. The vine has filled the right margin and the top margin. Now the left. The scribe takes up the brush. They begin the wash for the next gold piece. The brush moves along a small curve. The wash leaves its invisible track. The gold leaf is lifted to the page. The candles answer with small flares. The burnisher works in its small circles. The gold deepens. The scribe sets the burnisher down. The page is becoming whole. The vine bends around the second corner of the page. The left margin opens. The brush returns to the green. A new leaf grows, then another. The brush returns to the vermilion. A small berry, then another berry. The brush returns to the blue. A small flower, then another flower. The brush mixes the dark teal. The shadow lines, softer than soft. The brush mixes the warmed ochre, the highlights smaller than small. The scribe pauses. They place the brush down. They sit back. They breathe. The candles burn lower. The wax has gathered thickly at each rim. The flames are smaller now, but still tall, still steady, still warm. The wind moves around the abbey walls, the same soft sound, always the same. The brazier in the corner has settled to almost nothing, only embers. The room is still warm enough. The room is still cool enough. The scribe takes up the brush. The work continues. The left margin fills slowly. The vine climbs down the page now. A gold leaf section, a vine, a leaf, a berry, a flower. The pattern is the same. The pattern is always slightly different. The scribe leans closer to the page. The smallest details now. The thinnest lines, the smallest dots, the lightest touches. The brush barely touches the page. The breath barely moves. The candlelight catches the gold. The gold answers the candlelight. The scribe sets the brush down. They sit back. They rest. The wind moves around the walls, the same soft passing. The candles burn, each flame still tall, each flame still steady. The wax has gathered thickly. The wicks are still long enough. The brazier glows softly. The embers are deep in the ash. The scribe takes a slow breath. They take another. They take another. They place a hand on the desk. The wood is smooth and warm. They place the other hand on the desk. The desk holds them. They look at the page. The vine climbs. The gold catches light. The leaves are scattered along the vine in their small, varied rhythm. The berries cluster in twos and threes beside the leaves. The blue flowers open small along the climbing stem. The page holds a small, slow garden, growing into its margins. The scribe takes up the brush again. The work continues. A leaf, a berry, a flower, a shadow, a highlight, a pause. After some time, they take up the brush again. The work continues. A leaf, a berry, a flower, a shadow, a highlight, a pause. A leaf, a berry, a flower, a shadow, a highlight, a pause. The pattern moves at the speed of breath. The night holds it gently. The vine reaches halfway down the left margin. The page is mostly whole. The scribe pauses. They look at the page. They place the brush down. They sit back. They place their hands on their thighs. They rest. The candles burn. The candles are lower. The flames are softer now. The wind moves around the walls. The walls are thick. The room is sealed. The scribe breathes. The breath is slow. The breath is even. After a while, they take up the brush. The work continues, slowly. A leaf, a berry, a flower, a shadow, a highlight. The vine reaches further down the left margin. The page is nearly whole. The scribe leans closer. The brush moves. The brush is set down. The brush moves. The brush is set down. The brush moves. A leaf, a berry, a flower, the smallest of strokes. The candlelight on the gold is soft now. The flares are small. The wind moves. The stones hold. The room is quiet. The scribe pauses. They place the brush down. They sit back. They look at the page. The vine has nearly reached the bottom. A small section remains. A finger's width of margin. No more. The scribe takes a slow breath. They take up the brush. A small piece of wash. A small piece of gold. The candles answer. The burnisher in its small circle. The gold takes its last shine. The scribe sets the burnisher down. They take up the green. The vine completes itself. The last leaf grows. The last leaf is small. The brush returns to the vermilion. The last berry, the size of a pinhead. brush returns to the blue. The last flower, 4 small petals. The brush mixes the dark teal. The last shadow line, softer than breath. The brush mixes the warmed ochre. The last highlight, the smallest stroke. The scribe sets the brush down across the rim of the green jar. They sit back. They place their hands on their thighs. They breathe. The page is whole. The margins are filled. The work is done. The scribe sits a while. They do not move. They only breathe. The candles burn low now. The wax has gathered thick at each rim. The flames are small, but each flame is still steady, still tall. The wind moves around the abbey walls, soft, distant, the same. The scribe leans forward. They place a hand gently on the page. The vellum is cool under the palm. The work is dry. The work holds. They sit this way for a while. The hand on the page, the breath slow. Then they lift the hand. They place it back on their thigh. They look at the page. The vine climbs the margins. The gold catches light. The leaves are scattered. The berries cluster. The flowers open small. The shadows give depth. The highlights catch the eye. The page is whole. The scribe takes a slow breath. They take another. They take another. They reach for the brushes. One by one, they wipe each brush clean. A small linen cloth, kept for this purpose, sits at the side of the desk. The brush is wiped along the cloth. The pigment comes away in a soft line. The brush is placed back in the brass holder. The next brush is taken up. Each brush is wiped. Each brush is placed. The cloth gathers small streaks. The wash brush, the smallest brush, the second smallest, the squirrel hair. Each one is wiped. Each one is placed. The brushes wait in their holder. The scribe stoppers the small clay jars one by one. The green, the vermilion, the blue, the pale ochre, egg white wash, the waxed cloth, the thin string. Each jar is sealed. Each jar is set in its place. The desk grows quieter. The scribe lifts the dish of remaining gold leaf. There is little left. They cover it with a small square of vellum. They set it on the high shelf. The burnisher is wiped with the cloth. The agate gleams faintly. It is placed. The mixing dish is wiped. The cloth is folded. The cloth is set aside. The scribe rests their hands on the desk. The desk is mostly bare. The manuscript lies in its center. The vine climbs the margins. The page holds. The scribe takes a slow breath. They reach for the manuscript. They close it gently. The cover is leather, dark and soft. The cover meets. The scribe smooths the cover with the side of their hand. The leather settles. They lift the manuscript and set it on the small shelf above the desk. The shelf holds it. The manuscript waits. The work is done for tonight. The scribe sits back on the wooden stool. They look at the desk. The desk is bare. The brass holder of brushes, the stoppered jars, the candles in their brass holder, the 3 flames burning low. The scribe takes a slow breath. They reach toward the candles. They lift a small brass snuffer from the side of the desk. The snuffer. They bring it to the leftmost candle. They lower it gently over the flame. The flame goes out. A small thread of pale smoke climbs and disappears. The scribe brings the snuffer to the rightmost candle. They lower it. The flame goes out. Another small thread of smoke. It climbs. It is gone. 2 candles are out now. Only the middle candle burns. The room is dimmer. The middle flame stands tall and steady. The light is smaller. The room softens. The scribe sets the snuffer down. They place their hands on their thighs. They sit, they breathe. The single flame burns. candlelight on the brass holder catches small, soft glints. The wind moves around the abbey walls, the same soft sound, always. The scribe sits a while longer. The breath slows, the shoulders soften. The wool habit settles. The leather cushion holds the warmth. The stone bench beneath the cushion is cool. The brazier is only embers. The scribe places both hands gently on their thighs. The hands rest. The fingers are loose. The wrists are loose. The arms are heavy. The shoulders are soft. The neck is long. The jaw is unclenched. The breath moves in. The breath moves out. The room moves with it. The single candle stands tall on the brass holder. The flame is small. The wax has gathered around the rim. The wick is still long enough. The flame holds its shape. The flame is steady. The flame is warm. The room is still. The candle burns. The hand rests. The scribe takes a slow breath. They take another. They take another. The candle is lower now. The wax has gathered. The flame is smaller. The flame is still steady. The flame burns. The scribe sits. The room sits. The night sits. The wind moves around the walls. The walls hold the night. The candle burns. The flame is small. The flame is warm. The scribe breathes. The breath is slow. The candle burns lower. The flame is smaller. The flame is steady. The wind moves. The walls hold. The candle burns. The room is quiet. The scribe sits. The breath slows. The candlelight is soft. The candlelight is warm. The flame burns. The night holds. The candle. The flame. The breath. The quiet. The wind moves around the walls, far away. The candle burns, small and warm. The scribe sits in the soft light. The room holds them gently. The candle burns. The room is still. The breath is slow. The flame is small. The flame burns. The night holds. The candle. The breath. The quiet. The flame burns low. The scribe breathes. The room softens. The wind is far. The candle is small. The candle is warm. The breath is slow. The room holds. The candle burns.